The NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Sign up today, bet $100, and get a $100 free bet at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. Welcome in to another episode of the NFL Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It's Monday. That means he is Ryan McIntyre. I am Rod Villagomez, and we are here today to break down most of the week that was week 13 that we're in now of the NFL season. One, Ryan, where the hell did the season go? And two, what the hell did we watch this weekend? There was so many great games happening all over the league this week and some exciting stuff going on. And I mean, wow, right?
Yeah, no, I feel like we say that every week. Wow. The NFL never disappoints. And like you said, 13 weeks in, it's sad. It's only 5 weeks to go. Before you know it, we'll be previewing playoff games here shortly.
Previewing playoff games. But as most Spring League folks know, the seasons never end because once the NFL season stops, then we have more to go. But this is not the Spring League Gambling Podcast. This is the NFL Gambling Podcast. And Ryan, over the last few weeks, I've grown accustomed to saying Happy Victory Monday, but unfortunately, it's just not the same ring because it's not, you didn't lose, but you didn't win.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to figure out what a tie really means. It's like kissing your stepsister is what they say. That's how I feel. It's gross. You tie, you want to win. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not the worst thing in the world because both teams are still in the playoff race. So I think Washington and New York, the rematch being in 2 weeks, that'll be pretty much for all the marbles on who will decide this NFC wildcard picture, I think, the final spot.
It's 2022, Ryan. Can we just not do the tie anymore?
I hate the tie.
Yeah, let's go to penalty kicks. I don't care. Let's let the kickers just kick it out from like the 25-yard line and see who misses first, right? Or we just have them like try to block each other's kicks. I don't know, something creative like that.
No, I agree with you. I hate the tie. I think it's awful. I'm not the biggest fan of the college rule where they just do 2-point conversions, but I'd rather have that if it means we have a winner versus everybody walks away not knowing if you should be happy or pissed. So
I don't care if it's a hopscotch contest. Like, honestly, I don't care what it is. If it's Rochambeau, like, as long as it's somebody on the field deciding who wins versus, oh, well, nobody able to score, so I guess we'll just call it a tie.
Yeah, no doubt. I know it is World Cup season. I know the World Cup's going on, but this is American football, not that other football.
Exactly. It's called soccer. Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, let's not dwell on ties anymore. Let's get to the facts that people won and lost this weekend, and it began on Thursday night with the Buffalo Bills edging out the New England Patriots 24-10 in a game that saw Buffalo as 3.5-point favorites along the line, depending on where you got them. Some places there was 5-point favorites. I mean, obviously they covered all of this, but again, it was Buffalo coming out on top of New England 24-10. I mean, this wasn't close, but I don't feel like the Bills played their best football on Thursday night.
No, I thought it was more New England just isn't very good right now, especially not very good offensively right now. Struggled throughout the night. Mac Jones finishes under 200 yards passing for the evening. They ran the ball efficiently, but they didn't run it as much. For the Bills, I mean, business as usual, get a win. And then they got some help yesterday, and all of a sudden they're sitting up top in the number one AFC number one in the AFC playoff picture.
Yeah, and so for them though, you want to think that you have to exert yourself more with some of these games that you feel like you should win bigger. I mean, obviously,
Mhm.
New England, you got to go in there, you got to wipe the floor with them. 14 points is not bad, I guess, but by the same token, what we just saw last night, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. That's how you make a statement, right? You don't
Yeah.
go beat the Patriots by 14 points on Thursday and say that you're one of the better teams in the league. You go out and do what you did last night. That's how you prove that you're one of the better teams in the league. So, look, all I'm saying is that we know things to be true. We know Stephon Diggs, good at football. We know that Josh Allen is, at this point, Ryan, I want to know because we tout Josh Allen as an elite level quarterback, and he's shown that he can be. He's shown
Mhm.
that he is in the right circumstances. But if I read you this line, 22 of 33 for 223 and 2 touchdowns, that could be any quarterback on any Sunday afternoon. So those games where he's not necessarily the guy that everybody hypes him up to be, it's enough to win football games, but is it enough to win Super Bowls?
I thought if you're a Bills fan, the most encouraging thing is you got the running game going. James Cook, 14 carries, 64 yards. Singletary, 13 carries, 51 yards. Singletary had a touchdown. So they didn't rely as much on Josh Allen running and not taking as many hits. So I think if you're a Bills fan, that's what's encouraging going forward. But Josh Allen does need to be better through the air. But in this game, he didn't have to be.
No, and I guess that is the good thing, right? I
Yes.
am a little bit irritated though that Singletary did not get as many carries as he should have, in my opinion. James Cook was just doing so much better, but he blew I'm sorry, Devin Singletary, Ramondre Stevenson prop bet that I had of both of them going over like 130 some odd rushing yards combined. And I mean, Ramondre Stevenson 10 carries, 54 yards. I mean, kind of got you halfway there, but
Yeah.
Singletary just let me down.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, all right. I mean, look, like we said, going forward, now this makes New England's task of trying to be relevant that much more difficult. They are now 6-6. Buffalo is now 9-3. So, I mean, do with that what you will at this point. It's just a matter of can Buffalo compete with the Kansas Cities? Can they compete with now? I mean, the surging Bengals at this point. So, what do they do with them, right?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, the main thing for Buffalo now, you got the gift. Finally, Kansas City lost. No let up. You got 4 games left pulling up their schedule there. They got the Jets coming up, so they need to take care of business. Then they get their bye in week 15, which is a late bye. I mean, I don't remember it ever being a week 15 bye. So that's unique. But yeah, no, take care of business against the Jets, get your payback. You come out of the bye week and you go to Chicago. You should take care of business there. And then that sets up a huge matchup in Cincinnati in week 17 to start the year 2023. And then you finish with New England. So you win your last 4 games, you're the 1 seed. So it's pretty simple for Buffalo. That's all they can ask for.
Indeed. All right. The over under on this game was 44.5. Did not get there by a full 10 points. Obviously, like we talked about, Buffalo not necessarily playing up to the offensive standards that most Buffalo fans are used to. So under hit if you are under better on Thursday nights, which I mean, as history has proven, you probably should be at this point, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, well, let's talk about those damn New York Jets. They are now 7-5 after a loss to Minnesota, but don't think that they did not give it the old college try as they lost by 5 points. Minnesota coming in this 3.5-point favorites in most places, so obviously covering the spread in that instance. But again, 27-22 were the Vikings. They were victorious over the Jets. This was one where Kirk Cousins was not, I don't think he liked that. I don't think he liked his game at all. 21 of 35, 173 yards passing and a touchdown. Just not necessarily a good game for the offense, but they still managed to win, which is, I guess, really just so much what the Jets were losing this game more than it was the Vikings winning.
Yeah, no, business per usual for these Vikings. They find ways to win games. It's never sexy for them. But I mean, they're 10-2. Ironically, they're going to Detroit next week, and they're a dog currently. So it kind of tells you what the market thinks of it. But Yeah, no, the Vikings just continue to find ways to win close games and Kirk didn't have his best stuff, so for them to win a game where they didn't play their best ball over a quality opponent kind of just sums up the Vikings this year.
Yeah. Again, it's just find a way to win. And now they are 10-2, which, definitely whatever you think about it, they're still top of the NFC, right? They're still right there with the Eagles as far as where they're at record wise. Talent wise, everybody can argue whether or not they think the Eagles are runaway favorites. But Minnesota, all it counts is whether or not you win, right? That's all that matters. It doesn't matter how pretty it is, it doesn't matter how you dress it up. A 10-2 record is still a 10-2 record in the National Football League.
No, yeah, no, I agree, and I still think there's some regression. I'm kind of a Vikings hater, but I tilt my cap when it's deservingly so, and they're 10-2. They're right on pace with the Eagles for the 1 seed. They need the Eagles to have a hiccup or two coming down the stretch if they want any chance at getting that number 1 seed. But Vikings 1 win away from clinching the North already.
Hey, listen, a couple of actually, I guess, encouraging stories coming out of the New York Jets camp is that Mike White threw for 369 yards. He didn't throw any touchdowns, but 369 yards is not bad. I know that a lot of that was, them trying to do it. But more importantly, I like what I saw out of Zonovan Knight. 15 carries, 90 yards, that 48-yard scamper. I mean, look, I think he's a legit talent. And the fact that Carter's down, I don't know that the Jets lose anything in their running game if they continue to use Knight.
Yeah, no, I thought that I think the Jets are all right with Mike White going forward. Clearly, the locker room likes playing with him, and I mean they're sitting right there in the 7th seed right now in the AFC, 7-5 overall. So, kind of like a bunch of teams, the ball's in their court. They got a chance. Got a big one with Buffalo that we already touched on, but after that, the schedule got some favorable spots against the Lions and Jags. So, Jets will have a chance to end that playoff drought this year.
So if I told you at the beginning of the week that Garrett Wilson would outperform Justin Jefferson, I mean, I know that Garrett Wilson didn't find the end zone, but 8 catches, 162 yards versus Justin Jefferson's 7 catches for 45 yards, you probably would have thought I was crazy. You probably would have thought those lines were flipped.
Yeah, I would have said the Jets would have blown them out.
Exactly, right? Garrett Wilson, 186 yards. He's just good.
No doubt. Yeah, no, he's playing very well since the quarterback change.
43.5. The point total for this one obviously goes over for the Jets and the Vikings. Let's turn our attention to a game that was not necessarily quite as entertaining, and that is the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Denver Broncos. Baltimore eking out, and I mean eking out, a 1-point win over the Broncos, 10-9. Denver was 9.5 or 9-point or 8.5-point underdogs, depending on where you had them. So obviously they covered the spread here, but the big story out of this one was Lamar Jackson once again finds his way to not finishing a football game. Stop me, Ryan, if you've heard this one before.
Unfortunately, I have, and stop me if you've heard this before. The Broncos didn't score 18 points once again. So, yeah, this was an awful game, to be honest. But the Ravens found a way to win a game without their quarterback. We'll see what happens with Lamar going forward. Sounds like he's going to miss some times. You can just tell that by the way that on the look ahead to this upcoming week. By the way, stay tuned. We'll preview the look aheads to Week 15, but Week 14, the Steelers are a couple point favorites against the Ravens. So it tells me I don't think Lamar's going to play.
And even if he does, again, this is so difficult when you look at the way they should have dominated this game all the way through. Denver had 272 total offensive yards. Yep. That is almost equal to Josh Allen's passing yards in the entire game, maybe 40, 50 off. Obviously, it's, but you cannot win games when you cannot move the ball. And that is what's going on in Denver right now. I don't know. I mean, you go out and you pay Russ to be the guy for you, and nothing's happening. So I don't know what the answer is there. I don't know what you can do now to kickstart this. You can't even say that it's the lack of talent around him, because he's got Cortland Sutton, he's got Jerry Jeudy, he's got talented receivers, and he doesn't have the running back room that he probably should have, but Latavius Murray's no slouch. He's a good running back, right? He's a good serviceable running back, and that's really what you need for Russell Wilson. So, Ryan, put your general manager cap on. What are you even doing now in Denver?
That is the $1 million question. The first saying Nathaniel Hackett's going to be out, but I think that they have bigger problems than Nathaniel Hackett. I don't think you're just going to be, hey, flip of a coin and all of a sudden, hey, all right, Hackett's out, new coach coming in, and Russell Wilson's going to look young again. I think it's more complicated than that. He's not played well. I mean, he's thrown as many touchdowns as Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz hasn't played since week 5.
What does that say? I mean, that's that's got to be frustrating for him too, though, because you figure he left Seattle because he was getting tired of the environment, right? Coming to Denver thinking things would be better, and they're not.
No, and it's the offense. I mean, he joined an elite defense. Their defense is playing out of their minds. But, I mean, it's just the stats continue. If they're 3-9 overall, if they just scored 18 points every game, they'd be 10-2. So how about that?
I mean, that record still holds true. That trend still is continuing. So that's got to say something. Baltimore, for what I harped on Denver, not much better. 285 yards of total offense for them, total yards for them. And Tyler Huntley accounted for 187 passing yards on 27 completions. But again, I got to say this week after week, because when you say your quarterback cannot be your leading rusher, it usually is that your team just lost. And that's exactly what happened here again, with Huntley being the leading rusher. 10 carries, 41 yards. On a team that's predicated on being a triple option threat, I don't see 3 options on this team to run the ball anymore.
No, I agree. And especially without Lamar, it's going to be interesting to see handicapping these Ravens going forward. 8-4 overall. I think they're going to make the playoffs, although at this point last year they were 9-3 and they lost out and finished 9-8. Or maybe it was 8-3 and they lost their last 6 without Lamar to finish 8-9. They got the Steelers and Browns both on the road. Those are going to be hard games without Lamar or a limited Lamar. And then you got the Steelers once again. Then you got to go to the Bengals. I kind of leaning towards those Bengals to win the AFC North.
It's going to be interesting to see where the futures market rates these guys going forward, as far as what their chances are going for the championship, or even going for their division at this point. So we will see. No doubt. For bookkeeping purposes, hopefully you bet the under on this one. It was 40 points.
I think that hit.
If you were the under better on this one, you were rejoicing all game long. You probably knew it was in the bag from the get-go. All right, let's turn our attention to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are now 5-7, still have a shot to give Mike Tomlin a winning season if they do some work. I mean, they've got a few games to cross the 500 margin here. But they did win. They did take care of business against those scrappy Atlanta Falcons, 19-16. Pittsburgh 1-point favorites in this game. Go to Atlanta, beat the Falcons. I mean, look, the Falcons are 5-8 now. Okay, we talk about how resilient they are in covering the spread, but that's about all they can do. And it was 16, by the way, 19-16.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was the halftime score. Sorry, I was. I'm all messed up. Yes, sorry.
No. And look, at halftime, it was looking pretty good, right?
Yeah. No. 19-16. There we go. We're up and live on YouTube. I mean, these Falcons, they were a covering machine, but no longer. I don't know. They're so one-dimensional in terms of they just run the ball, and they're so limited through the passing attack. A team like Pittsburgh can just dial up blitzes and limit Mariota through the passing game. TJ Watt, I mean, this team's a different team when he's healthy. It's incredible how one guy can make such a difference. But for the Pittsburgh, like, you're back in the playoff race quietly, I think.
I think obviously with the way the standings are at this point, there's very few teams that are sitting on the outside looking in, unless you're, out there with the Bills or the Chiefs and whatnot. But a lot of these bubble teams still have a shot. And I think you're right. If Pittsburgh can manage to be a good defensive team and do just enough to win games going forward, it sounds cliche, right? All you got to do is just keep the team from scoring and score more points than them. But honestly, that's kind of what this is. There are teams that can go into it knowing that they can blow the other team out of the water. With a team like Pittsburgh, the way they are right now, all they want to do is just keep the team from scoring points and score at least one more point than them. And so I mean, they did it this week, right?
Yeah, no, it's amazing how in the year 2022, a lot of these teams are playing like this, where kind of just taking the ball out of the quarterback's hands, playing conservative, playing good defense, defensively cover two, don't get beat deep. So it is crazy with all the rules changing towards the offense now. Defense seems to be ahead of the offense this year, and we all know what it's going to be in the postseason. Defense always comes through in the postseason, so I'm expecting a very physical and low-scoring games coming down the stretch here.
We're running out of weeks. That's the
Yeah.
crazy thing about it. We're literally on the back end of this, and it's just it just feels to me like a lot of these teams that are fighting and fighting and fighting. We're going to see some pretty good gritty performances down the line. I mean, look, Atlanta's not completely out of this either, though, because they play in the NFC South, where
a good luxury to have.
I mean, they lost this game pretty handily, but 3 points is handily, but they I don't think they really had a chance to win this at all at any point. So yeah, but they still can be factors in the South, especially depending on what happens tonight.
Yeah, no doubt. I think for these Falcons, they're going to be scoreboard watching tonight because for everybody, we record Monday right before Monday Night Football. If the Saints do knock off the Bucs, all of a sudden it's race on with all four teams. Carolina's back in the mix if New Orleans can get this thing done tonight.
Oh my God, can you believe that? And they're letting go Baker Mayfield, and we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So all right, Kenny Pickett, 16-28, 197 and a touchdown. I mean, it's enough to win at this point, and that's all you're asking for.
No doubt. Gets the job done, as they say.
Indeed. Marcus Mariota, only 13 completions, 167 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Not good enough to get the job done. Cordell Patterson, once again, the leading rusher on this team, 11 carries, 60 yards. But Najee Harris, 17 carries, 86 yards. Pat Freiermuth, leading receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. How fantastic is that? 3 catches, 76 yards. He had that 157-yarder that was just picture perfect if you were a tight end premium fantasy manager like me.
Yeah, no doubt. Pickett likes throwing to him. That's been proven over these last couple of weeks. So good target for the rookie in Pittsburgh.
Indeed. All right, the over-under on this one, 42, did not get there. Special shout-out, I guess, to Drake London. 6 catches, 95 yards. I think he's going to be a solid guy going forward for these Falcons. They just need to get him more involved, honestly. They need to get a quarterback that can throw to him.
Him and I know Pitts is injured for the year, but both of those guys going forward, they got to figure out offensively. I know they want to run the football, but you got 2 talented big receivers, big target guys like that. You got to be able to get them the ball more than they are.
Indeed. All right, let's step away for a second, and when we come back, we are going to break down the rest of the Week 13 slate, because that is what we do here on the NFL Gambling Podcast. Stick around. We will be right back. But first, are you ready to win money and boost your odds? WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. Bring in the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting and casino play. You get exclusive rewards right at your fingertips with Wynn Rewards on WynnBET. You looking to get involved in the same game parlay? Yeah, you are. WynnBET, your home with their WynnBET build your own bet, letting you customize the bet that you want to make. Great promos, odds, payouts. It's all happening right now at WynnBET. WynnBET has what you need to win. You ready to play? Sign up today. You're going to receive a special offer. Bet $100, win $100. There's so much to choose from, and all you got to do, head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET so they know that we sent you. that sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state or play through it is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Right, Ryan, let's continue on down the line. Let's talk about the boss's favorite team. He is flying high right now. The 11-1 Philadelphia Eagles taking down the now 7-5 Tennessee Titans. This was an utter demolishing of what is a good team in the AFC. It's not like Tennessee's terrible. Obviously, they're 7-5. It's a pretty good team. But Philadelphia, just that much better than everybody else right now. They were 4.5-point favorites over the Titans. Covered that. and then some, even if you got him at 6 somewhere down the line. Again, this was a very handy win for the Eagles.
Yeah, A.J. Brown revenge game. He had this one circled on his calendars. 8 catches, 119, 2 touchdowns. The Eagles were awesome yesterday. Known as an Eagles hater, I got to tip my cap to them. They got it done. A statement game. Looking at the box score, Derrick Henry only goes 11 rushes for 30 yards. So I think coaching staff called out this defensive line because the Eagles had been run on in recent weeks. So the Eagles seemed like they may have gotten some things figured out up front. So the Eagles seem to be the clear-cut favorite in the NFC now, especially with the news in San Fran that I know you don't want to talk about that we'll get into later.
Will we, though? I don't know.
We might just skip it for you.
I may very well just, forget that I have to get to that game when we get there. But no, look, when you can take out Derrick Henry, right? When you can hold him to 30 yards, there's that narrative that Bill Belichick always hounds on the one thing that you're good at and tries to take that away, right? We talk about that every time we talk about Bill Belichick, we talk about the Patriots. But as I guess as elementary as it sounds to be able to do that, it's very difficult, which is why these great players are great players, right? It's hard to hold Derrick Henry to 30 yards rushing. But when you can do that, obviously Tennessee's not going to score more than 10 points because Ryan Tannehill has proven that he alone is not going to be able to beat you with even the weapons that he's got, right? Mm-hmm. And I believe we even saw Treylon Burks injured, right?
Yeah, no, he got banged up, took a tough shot in the end zone. You mentioned it, though, like when the Titans fall behind, they have issues getting back in the game because they can't just rely on Ryan Tannehill to say, hey, go get us back in the game like a Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or even Joe Burrow. Those guys are just on such a different level. And I think we're going to continue to see Tennessee struggle against the elite teams in the NFL, but they can beat up on the bad teams in the NFL, aka the AFC South, and get it done and get to the postseason and win another division title. But I just think going forward, they're going to be one and done in the playoffs most likely.
But Philly, though, they continue to get off to hot starts. 21 points in the first half. Like that's how they do it. They beat up and they pile up on you right out of the gate and just sort of break your will at that point, and the Titans didn't score anything in the second half. So it just, you saw almost complete and utter dominance. Well, you did see complete and utter dominance from one team in this game. But Philly's going to be good again for the rest of the season. And kind of like you said, I don't know though. It's just a matter of can they continue this throughout the entire playoffs? Because obviously they're going to get there. How far they get, I suppose, is up to how well they want to perform for the rest of the year.
Yeah, they're good as long as they don't run into Heineke again.
Ha ha ha. Look at if Washington ends up making it, this is going to be a great round 3, right?
No doubt. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it happens. Obviously, the Eagles are going to be in, but Washington's got to take care of some business coming down the stretch before we can talk potential playoff scenarios and matchups.
So just to wrap things up on this game, because there's not much to break down. Tennessee, they've got to get better. They've got to get leads. They've got to hold on to leads. But A.J. Brown, you talked about the revenge game, 8 catches, 119 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Jalen Hurts, man, 29, 380, 3 touchdowns. Fantastic stuff. Tannehill, 14, 22, 141 and a touchdown. He was the leading rusher on the team, believe it or not. 34 yards for Ryan Tannehill on 3 carries. He had a 17-yard scramble to help him out. But you ready for this one? I did not practice this name. I'm going to read this cold. You ready?
Yep.
Chigoziem Okonkwo.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's Okonkwo.
Okonkwo. There you go. That's better.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was the leading receiver. So, like you said, tough day for the Titans when he's your leading receiver and Tannehill's your leading rusher.
As someone whose name is mispronounced, I understand the importance of pronouncing names correctly. So I want to make sure his name got pronounced correctly. So That's why I'm glad you did that. He deserves all the respect in the world for leading the receiving on this one. So good on him.
Join the club. Both of our last names get mispronounced all the time.
I just can't. McIntyre
and Villagomez.
It's crazy. Okay, so let's move on to Jacksonville and Detroit. Jacksonville just wants to move on I mean, it doesn't even matter at this point. They just want to move on. They are now 4-8. The Lions moved to 5-7, but they just annihilated the Jaguars 40-17. They were a point and a half favorite Detroit. Safe to say they covered and then some. And then here's the thing about Detroit, right? When we talked about them early on in the season, we talked about how scrappy they were, and then they stopped being scrappy. But now they're scrappy again. But we may go back to the non-scrappy version because it seems like, it's just a weird ride with these guys.
Yeah, and don't look now. The Lions are somewhat in the playoff race. They're sitting at 5-7. They've won 4 out of 5 after starting the year 1-6. They seem to be getting better under Dan Campbell. They dominated this game. This was never close. I thought Jacksonville maybe coming off the big win over Baltimore maybe continue the momentum, but they got drilled. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And the Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he continues to roll.
So here's what's frustrating Amon-Ra St. Brown, 11 catches, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. Christian Kirk, once again, the leading receiver for the Jaguars. You can pretty much put that in the bank every single week. 6 catches, 104 yards. Travis Etienne, kind of a disappointing day, 13 carries, 54 yards. He did lose the ball once. So, just sort of a day they want to forget. Trevor Lawrence, 17-31, 179 yards and a touchdown for Trevor. What's frustrating about this season for the Jaguars is that they're not good, and they're not going to get the first pick in the draft this season. So that's what I'm sure that's frustrating, because at least when they weren't good in the last few seasons, they knew that they could get the first pick in the draft. Not this season.
I will say it hasn't worked out for them, though, when they get the first pick. So maybe try something different here.
At this point, just see what you've got. Kick the tires on a lot of different things, because, you're pretty much out of it. So what are you going to do at this point to make things right? Over under on this one, 51.5, and it hit. I don't know how many people were actually betting the over on this game, but if you did, you were pretty happy. DeAndre Swift, fantasy managers were a little bit happy. 14 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown for Swift. He did not get vultured by Williams every single time that they got there. So good on them.
Yeah, no, highest total of the week cashes on the over.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the next game, which I know you're not necessarily all that thrilled about. It is the 7-5-1 Washington Commanders as they tied the New York Football Giants, who are now 7-4-1. It was a 20-20 tie. Obviously, overtime could not settle this. Tie. And the spread on this one was about 1.5 points, 2.5 points, depending on where you were. Doesn't matter. Didn't happen. This thing never happened. So takeaways from this, other than the fact that the over/under was 40, and you couldn't even get a win on an over or an under if you bet on 42. So you tied, you pushed anyways. This whole game was a wash for bettors and fans alike.
Yeah, no, the only ones that won is if you had the Giants plus the 2 or plus the 1, whatever you got it as, because I guess you won the spread there. But my takeaways, for both teams, a little disappointing, because you want to get that 8th win, because Seattle, who we'll touch on here, gets a big comeback win to get to 7 wins as well over the Rams. The Niners now have 8 wins. The NFC South is a 1-bid division, but seems like the rematch that'll happen here in 2 weeks will be for that 7th seed, and it'll be back in D.C. I think Washington is better than New York. Bias or no bias, I think they have the better team. But I mean, Heineke found a way. He didn't play well yesterday, but when they were down 7 late, he found a way to manage a drive, get it tied up, and then kind of the teams just traded punts going down the stretch. It was kind of like they both knew that if we tied, it's not the end of the world. So the play calling got very, very conservative in the overtimes.
Well, it's just frustrating because, we talked about it in the opening. Just ties are ties, and it sucks. I don't like to see it. I love to see a winner or a not winner. Like, I don't want to see them play to a tie, because it almost feels like, then what were you out there for? And I've seen my fair share of ties, and I feel like we've seen more in the last few years than there were in the years before that, or maybe it's just because I'm more aware of them now. I don't know, but it just feels like there's been more ties over the last couple of years than there have been in the past. I don't have the stats in front of me for it, but if you're a statistician and you want to find out for me, please do.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, we had week number 1 with Colts and Texans, and I know last year we had a couple. It seems like there's a couple every year now. Now the question is, will the Texans have more wins or more ties by the end of the year?
Ooh, can somebody get a book? Somebody get a futures bet on that? I want to see what the odds are. I mean, hey, could happen.
Maybe they tie one more and they finish 114-2 or something.
114-2. What? That would be a hell of a record to have. You'd have to think that would be the first time in history that happened.
No doubt. Yeah, I don't think I think Kramer and Sean were talking about it. That somebody has never done this where they could potentially finish with more ties than wins.
Wow. I mean, unless it's soccer, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tyler Heineke, 27 of 41, 275, 2 touchdowns. Daniel Jones, 25 of 31, 200 yards and a touchdown. But he did have 12 carries for 71 yards and on the ground. So Daniel Jones trying to do it all. Oh, wait, look, Ryan, another quarterback that was the leading rusher, and their team didn't win. I mean, they didn't lose, but they didn't win either.
Yeah, no, Daniel Jones, I mean, 70 yards on the ground. He's sneaky fast. I every time I watch him, I'm like, I didn't realize he was that fast. But I also feel like you just say that about any white guy. It's like, hey, he's sneaky fast. He's sneaky athletic. So, yeah.
There's that episode of The League where they start describing how people get described. I highly suggest you guys go watch it. It's hilarious. But
yeah.
All right, Brian Robinson continuing to do great things on the field. 21 carries, 96 yards. Did have a fumble, but still, I mean, look, I like what I see out of him. He's young. He's got potential. I think he'll be a good running back for your guys for a very long time. So I think you got a good one there.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that can come back from being shot is my kind of guy. So yeah, no, he's having a monster rookie year. It really is a great story. Coming out of the bye, looking forward to getting Chase Young back finally.
Yeah. Oh my God, that defense is probably going to be even more vicious at that point. All right, let's put that one in the books. We'll call it a tie. We'll move on to Cleveland and Houston. The Deshaun Watson revenge game ended up in the favor of the new team, but not in the way that everybody thought it was going to happen. Cleveland on top of the Texans, 27-14. Cleveland entered this one by more than a touchdown favorite, 7.5 in some places, 8 in others, or 7 depending on where you got it as well. Obviously covered it and then some. But listen, as somebody who went off on waivers and picked up Cleveland's defense before the week, that, my friends, is where the sausage was made. Cleveland defense really making noise in this matchup. And to whose surprise?
Yeah. No, Deshaun Watson was awful. He was atrocious yesterday. 12 of 22 for 130 in an interception. And his interception he threw, I tweeted it out. I was like, that is the worst throw I've seen all year. He threw it right to the guy. I didn't even know what he was looking at. It had no chance. Houston should have won the game. If they just don't turn the ball over, they win the game because the Cleveland offense was not doing anything offensively. Even though they did have success running the ball, it felt like they wanted to throw the ball more just because they had a new toy and wanted to showcase him. I guess Cleveland, just get out of there with the win, keep it moving because 2 in a row now off the bye, and I'm looking at what Cleveland's got on deck. They got at Cincinnati, so that's a big spot for Deshaun Watson, and we'll see if the Browns can keep it rolling, I guess.
So Deshaun Watson, 12 of 22, like you said, 131, an interception. Kyle Allen, they let him throw the ball 39 times. Dameon Pierce had 73 yards, regardless of the fact that Allen threw it that many times. So, I mean, for both of these teams, you can't feel good. Cleveland 5-7, Houston 1-10-1. I mean, Cleveland did come away with this win, but the only thing you can feel good about is the fact that your defense played their ass off and pretty much won the game for you.
Yeah, no, it was all defense in this game, and for those watching on YouTube, shout out to Jay Mark, who I do the Wednesday show with, Old Fashioned Football. He is in the chat, so he's livening it up. We have not covered the Bears yet, Jay Mark. They're on deck, I believe. So you joined at the perfect time. Unfortunately, I don't even know if you want to hear that. So if you want to take a bathroom break, go now.
Well, and so here's the thing about either one of these. I understand, and I saw several people out there yesterday talking about, well, if you expected Deshaun Watson to come and light it up after being away for so long and blah blah blah, I don't know what you were expecting. I get it. I know. I know you're not going to get it like vintage Deshaun Watson in the first week that he's back, but that's what we got after all the hype.
Yeah, for all the people that said that don't expect him to play well, he better play well. They're paying him to play well. They're paying him a lot to play well, and they dealt with a lot of bullshit to get him to have a position to play well. So he needs to play better. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I think he knows that too. But by the same token, it's like, I'm curious to see what's going to even happen later on, and how much everything else is going to affect what we see going forward. But for now, Cleveland wins 27-14. Houston, very much jockeying for that first pick in the draft.
Rod, for you, I mean, for the organization, they're usually easy to root for, Cleveland. It's hard to root for Cleveland now with Deshaun Watson.
It's just hard overall because you've watched what has happened in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield came in, did okay. You got Nick Chubb, you got Kareem Hunt, you got Miles Jack, you got all these great guys that you
got pieces.
Yeah, you've got tons of dudes, right? Like they say, but nothing's happening with them. That makes you want to keep rooting for them week after week. So, yeah, I get it. So, speaking of rooting for people week after week, Aaron Rodgers, the bad boy turned, I guess, still bad boy. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers leading the Green Bay Packers over the Chicago Bears. Green Bay now a 1,000% fun 5-8. Chicago 3-10 on the year. Aaron Rodgers 182 yards, 1 touchdown. Thank God for his running game. AJ Dillon 18 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown. But Justin Fields continues to be the story. Sorry, J-Mark, over all of this. For those of you who are listening on the podcast, Ryan throws up on our graphic there the score with the apologies to J-Mark for unfortunately his team not going. He's got no nice things to say about Rodgers. Justin, that is correct. But Justin Fields, he's got the world to say about. 254, unfortunately, threw two interceptions and no touchdowns on the game, but continues to run the ball massively. 6 carries, 71 yards, and a touchdown there. That 55-yard touchdown run just made everybody look silly.
Yeah, and if you had the Bears like I did, like J. Mark did, this was a tough loss. We were on the right side of this. They were winning the entire game. They were up by double digits at multiple times in this game, including 16-13. They're up 19-10 in the fourth quarter. And for the Packers to cover this number the way they did on a total blown coverage by the Bears when the Packers were just running out the clock was a tough beat, man. Tough beat.
Sometimes the betting gods do not like you, and that is what happened in this case. Again, like the Bears were 3.5-point underdogs in this one. Green Bay obviously covers this. The over-under on this one was 45.5, and we got there. So if you were an over-better on this one, you were happy, which I don't know. I mean, where were you on this one? Were you over or under?
I leaned the under because of the weather in Chicago. Hey, Rod, you get a little bit of feedback. Maybe there's something with your microphone settings. If you want to just check that real quick. Is just getting some feedback in the chat right now. But I lean the under. I always usually lean the under in these Bears games at Soldier Field because it's so cold. But I think the Bears have kind of been an over team this year, even though they play in the cold, because of how electric Justin Fields can be with his legs, and their defense isn't very good.
Yeah, and it's just frustrating for the Bears when they started out with some fantastic hopes, right? I mean, they saw Justin Fields being Justin Fields, and now it's like, here we are, and 3-10. It's just totally frustrating for these guys. I can understand where they probably want to pick their season back up again. I don't think the playoffs are in the mix for them, but still a lot to build on. I think around Justin Fields, he's starting to look much better.
Hey, and J Mark, what's you could just put in the chat. What is the Chicago Bears draft capital? I know they gave up a lot to get Justin Fields. They're obviously going to be in the top 5, top 10 picks. I think, Rod, we agree on that, with being 3-10 overall. So if they do lose out, they do still have their top pick. It's not the Giants, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know either. But again,
yep, the Bears have it. Yep,
yeah, they got confirmed. The top 5 pick at least. So yeah, definitely see on that one. All right, but for Green Bay, this is the mark where they got to figure out whether or not they're going to move forward, or if Aaron Rodgers even wants to move forward. I mean, we talk about this every week. Is this his last one? I don't know. Who knows? Only him.
Yeah, no, they're 5-8 overall. They got to win their last 4 to even have a chance. They're going to need a lot of help. They're going to need the Giants pretty much to lose out, or Washington to lose out, because both those teams hold the tiebreakers over Green Bay as well. And now that they both have a tie, if both teams just get to 9 wins, the Packers are out, which I know Bears fans like hearing.
Bears fans love hearing it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the NFC West battle between the Seattle Seahawks and the LA Rams. Normally, for San Francisco fans, we're all about beating LA. Doesn't matter who, doesn't matter what, just beat LA. This time, we wanted LA to beat Seattle. We needed the Rams to kind of keep Seattle at bay. The one thing we need LA to do for us, they don't do. They end up losing 27-23 to those pesky Seattle Seahawks. Although the Seahawks in the process do not cover their 6.5 point spread. If you got them at 5.5, you still weren't even happy. So yeah, I don't know. It's just an LA thing to turn around and end up losing games they should have won. John Wolford, the AAF man himself, 14 of 26 for the Rams, 178 yards. Stafford's done. So this will be his team. 2 interceptions. I mean, Tutu Atwell was your leading receiver. 2 catches, 48 yards. You're not going to win very many games like that, Ryan. It's frustrating.
Yeah, no, you and I were both heavily rooting for the Rams, because you in the NFC West, me in the NFC wildcard race. But the Seahawks, Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, they continue to find ways to win games. They got the Panthers on deck, and then they got the showdown with the Niners at the 12th man. So if the Seahawks get this one coming up against Carolina, they're in a good position, I think, against Brock Purdy all of a sudden.
If it is Brock Purdy. I mean, again, we'll talk about it.
Josh Johnson.
Oh, yeah, let's go. XFL Wildcats. Let's do it. I don't know. To me, this Seattle team, obviously, they're going to continue to find ways to be scrappy, because that's just in their DNA. Obviously, if you're Pete Carroll, you want to continue to win because you gave up a lot to be starting over again, and you want to show and prove that you won the war when it comes to who you gave up. And right now it's looking pretty good, right? It's like no I said, doubt. when you want to show that significant other that you're doing well without them, and you parade the new person and you say, look, we're doing a lot better, and then the other person's miserable, makes you happier by comparison.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that one. They definitely seem to be winning the divorce so far, but more because the other one. I actually scratch that. The Seahawks have done well for themselves with Geno Smith, so I shouldn't knock them. But it's more so Russell Wilson's just been so bad for Denver.
Oh, it's been horrible. But
horrible's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, there are other words out there that I'm sure probably best describe it, but. Geno Smith, 28 of 39, 367, 3 touchdowns. Just fantastic day for him, which by proxy was a great day for Tyler Lockett. 9 receptions, 128 yards in that touchdown. I mean, look, Rams are pretty much out of this. Can't believe that they won the Super Bowl last year. Knew it was a fluke.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like for a Super Bowl, this is the worst Super Bowl winner of all time. In terms of like the next year, I don't remember a Super Bowl champion ever being 3-9.
I mean, it's LA, right? That's all I
Yeah.
gotta say. I'm sorry, LA fans. I'm a San Francisco fan, and we just beat LA every single time. So
No doubt.
all right. Speaking of San Francisco, let's move there. Well, okay. Everybody moved to San Francisco, where the winning team ended up being the 49ers as they beat the Miami Dolphins 33-17. Both teams now 8-4, but San Francisco on a tear. Yes, we lose Jimmy Garoppolo. Yes, we've already lost Trey Lance. Now it's Brock Purdy, who Justin Mark believes is going to be a good starting quarterback because he watched him at Iowa State. No surprise there. Justin
Cornbread, baby.
His Iowa team folks over there. But here's the thing about the San Francisco team. It is exactly what a football team should be. Strong defense, good running game. Doesn't matter who your quarterback is, you just win games. They made Tua look so confused all game long, and that is exactly why they ended up winning this game in the end, is because Tua could not get anything going. The only thing he had that was good in that game was Tyreek Hill, and past that, I mean, some timely third down conversions. Yeah, Gesicki had that almost catch that was a catch, but I mean, the defense just did everything it needed to do to keep this Niners team winning. And shout out to Brock Purdy for doing what he needed to do also to get the team to win.
Yeah, no, I thought Brock Purdy was solid. J Mark in the chat said everybody moved to San Fran. He can't afford it, so he's staying in Iowa. J Mark, I'm with you. I can't afford to live in San Fran either, so we'll stay in the Midwest. Yeah, no, I think the Niners going forward, handicapping them. Yeah, they lose Jimmy G. That is a tough blow, obviously. Jimmy G's been kind of their backbone in terms of their glue guy. Whenever he's in there, it seems like they got a shot. They rally around him, and he wins 70% of his games. But the proof is in the pudding for the Niners. Run the ball, play good defense. So I think Brock Purdy's going to do the same thing. You just keep running the ball, pass the ball through the air off play action. And if there's any coach that can hide his quarterback's deficiencies, I think Kyle Shanahan's the guy to simplify the game plan and make it easy for Brock Purdy.
We have seen this already, though. We've seen this show as far as hiding quarterback deficiencies. Obviously, we got to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G. We got to the playoffs again with Jimmy G. And it's not as if Jimmy G has been the transcendent quarterback that everybody wants him to be. Yes, Justin Mark, that Purdy may not be as Purdy as Jimmy G, which I love Purdy jokes. Now, my dad and my brother were both texting me, hey, this guy's pretty good. He's got a pretty good chance of winning this game, which I thought was, hilarious, and laughed. And then when they won, it was even funnier. But look, here's the thing. Doesn't matter what the quarterback is. Could be Trey Lance, could be Jimmy G, could be Brock Purdy, could be Josh Johnson. It could be Tyler Heineke. It could be anybody. They got a guy like Christian McCaffrey. They're going to go far, right? McCaffrey was all about being the lead guy. And I want him to stay healthy. That's been my biggest bugaboo with him, is just being able to stay healthy. But McCaffrey leading the running game, 17 carries, 66 yards, but also the leading receiver, 8 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown in this game. I mean, Debo, Kittle, McCaffrey, Ayuk, all of these folks, as long as you can get the ball to them, they're gonna allow you to win. And then this defense has just been, now granted, they finally let a second half score on the board in 5 games, but they almost didn't do that either. So, This defense is stout.
No, they're lights out. You mentioned it. Bosa's an animal. That front's an animal. Secondary's playing well. Hey, Rod, you're closer to the situation. I had this game on mute next to the Bengals-Chiefs game, which I had on the volume. Is there some bad blood between Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel?
No, they didn't really say anything about it, other than the fact that obviously they were, together as coaches. But,
okay.
That's
it kind of seemed short on the handshake at the end. So I was wondering, because McVay and Shanahan love each other.
Well, yeah. But I mean, look, the thing is that obviously McVay knows that he just can't beat Shanahan in the regular season. That's all there is to it. Like, True. They already know that. I'm sure McDaniel was pissed off because his team is a much better team than a lot of the other teams that have played. So I would think that you want to come out and beat one of the guys. You know what I'm saying? Like you want, and when it happens, that's probably why the short handshake. He probably just didn't want to hear anything about it because he knew his team blew it.
I got you. Yeah, no, I had to ask that to somebody that's close to the Niners situation and Mike McDaniel and Shanahan.
Yeah, no, it's true. All right, over-under on this one was that he never showered. Ew. Yeah, Shanahan didn't like the McDaniels never showered. Wow. Shots fired. All right, so over-under this was 45.5. It reached 50, so it was definitely over. San Francisco is going to have a lot of building to do on this. They are 8-4 now, and really in charge of that NFC West. They just got to hang on. They got to have Brock Purdy hang on to this lead for them. So, and again, not to bury the lead, but Jimmy Garoppolo is out for the season with a broken foot. That injury too looked kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, I hate it for Jimmy G. Wish him the best in his rehab. It'll be interesting to see where he goes from here.
I was gonna say I don't think we're gonna see another game for him suiting up for the Niners. I would love it, but we've seen this story before. Jimmy going down, ending the season, and not being able to finish one out. So
agreed.
Anyway, let's talk about two quarterbacks that are going to stay with their respective teams for a decent amount of time. I still don't think Derek Carr's career is going to be over, despite what the Raiders' record is. And in fact, if they continue to keep winning games like this, then maybe it's gonna continue on even farther, where the Raiders win 27-20 over the LA Chargers. And really, this is a story more of how the Chargers are just not the team in the AFC West that they were supposed to be. They were 2.5-point underdogs in this game, which to the Raiders should tell you everything you need to know. But they didn't even cover that. So Derek Carr, 16 of 32, 52 touchdowns and an interception. But Josh Jacobs, once again, 26 carries, 144 yards. Devontae Adams, 8 catches, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ryan, these weapons are amazing.
Yeah, no, it was simple for Vegas. Get the ball to Devontae Adams and run the ball with Josh Jacobs. It was crazy because I was watching that game, and Adams caught the first touchdown out of the break, and I was like, "Oh, nice catch!" And then it was like 5 minutes later, he caught another one. I was like, "Is that a replay?" No, that's him again streaking down the sideline, making a contested catch. Don't look now. The Raiders have won 3 in a row since Derek Carr had his emotional press conference. So they're sneaking back into the playoff race, pulling up what they got coming up with the Raiders. They got they're at the Rams on Thursday, so that should be a game they should win. And then from there you go New England and Pittsburgh. So they're right in the thick of things in the AFC wild card. On the other side, this Chargers team, man, if it weren't for the Broncos, the Chargers would be the biggest disappointment in the AFC. The Broncos kind of take all the spotlight because of how really bad they are. But the Chargers, man, 6-6. This is Staley's done. He's a dead man walking. If they don't get to the playoffs, he's going to get fired. I mean, Justin Herbert's too talented a guy. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler. They got too many weapons to be a 6-6 ball club.
That has me scratching my head more, though, than the Denver situation. I mean, Denver's obviously got the names as well, but Herbert, young guy, 335, a touchdown on 28 completions, 47 attempts. I mean, it's not a bad stat line. In fact, it's a really good stat line. In fact, this is much better than either one of the stat lines we were talking about for Denver or for even New England or anybody like that, right? And unfortunately, they can't win with it.
I was just getting ready to say, I really like Herbert's arm. I like his potential. I like his size, everything. Hey, look, he looks awesome. But does he have it is what I'm starting to wonder, because there's way too much talent on this team to just go, oh, it's a coach. It's more than the coach right now, I think. They find ways to lose games that they shouldn't. They lose a lot of close games. And when you have a franchise quarterback, you should win more than you lose.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Austin Eckler, disappointing day, 10 carries, 35 yards. Keenan Allen, 6 catches, 88 yards and a touchdown. But yeah, I mean, look, as someone who doesn't have it, I can recognize that sometimes you just don't have it.
He doesn't have Jimmy G.
No.
Jimmy G's it. Yeah. No, like
chiseled,
Yeah. The Heineke and Garoppolo it factor, where it's not sexy, but I'm going to find a way to win this game.
What about Garoppolo to the Chargers? No, I'm just kidding. That would never happen.
Are you trying to persuade the Chargers into dealing Herbert to you guys?
No, because we have Trey Lance, and that would be all screwy. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't
I
know that
think
I turned it down. Obviously.
yeah, I was about to say I think you're taking Herbert over Lance. No offense, Lance.
Oh yeah, definitely doing that. All right, let's talk about two quarterbacks who are definitely not going anywhere again either, and that's Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. What is it about these Bengals? They are scrappy, they are crazy, and they came out and won against the Kansas City Chiefs, held their home turf, beat the 2.5-point spread against the Chiefs. Now Cincinnati's 8-4, looking better than they were before. Started off the season with a little bit of a scare. Now they're right back where they should be. Kansas City now 9-3. It really is a matter of this Bengals team finding a way to get back where they were and really look like the team that they should have been all along.
So how do you beat the Kansas City Chiefs? Just ask the Cincinnati Bengals because they own them all of a sudden. 3 wins in 11-month span over Kansas City. They've beaten them in Cincinnati. Obviously, they beat them in Arrowhead in the AFC Championship. This was a huge win for the Bengals to get back into it, pull within one game of the 1 seed now, and right there in the driver's seat for the AFC North, Joe Burrow. Yeah, what can you say? That guy's awesome. He has it. And like we're talking about if Herbert has it, Joe fucking Burrow has it.
And those shades and
the
cigar, it's all
no
it's
doubt.
all about
he has it.
Yeah.
But I mean for the Chiefs, I mean, disappointing loss, but they'll be back. It seems like they lose every 5-6 games and they rattle off 5 or 6 in a row after that. So, but they lost home field going forward. They need a loss from Buffalo to get it back.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy. And maybe it doesn't matter to them. I don't know, but it did snap
It might not.
No, it did snap a 5-game winning streak for the Chiefs, but it lengthened what is now a 4-game winning streak for the Cincinnati Bengals. But when you've got guys that can make plays, and Jamar Chase is just, I mean, he's going to come back here eventually, and it's just going to be scary for the rest of he didn't come back, and made an impression. 7 receptions, 97 yards in his comeback. So, I mean, scary, right?
Yeah, no, and he's awesome. T. Higgins is awesome. That whole group is awesome. I mean, there's I could say great things about the Bengals after watching that game from start to finish. They're right there to make another playoff push, and it's going to be fun. It really is to watch Burrow, Mahomes, and Allen all duel in the playoffs. It's going to be a 3-headed monster there, I think.
Mm-hmm. And for the Bengals to lose Joe Mixon, don't worry, we got Samaje Perine, 20 carries, 106 yards on the day for him. So, just a great performance overall and a gritty win for the Bengals over the Chiefs. Don't really need to necessarily break either one of these teams down because we know exactly what's going to happen. Although I will say over-under on this one was about 53 in some places. So if you bet the over on this one, expecting gigantic fireworks, you got them. But unfortunately, it did not hit the over as they scored 51 points on this game. How frustrating is that, huh?
Yeah, that's why it opened at 51, so you should have grabbed the right when it opened. You got to beat the number.
Oh, hey, we do that, don't we?
Yes, and that will be our next segment here after this next game.
Speaking of beating the numbers, holy hell. Have you ever seen a game quite like this?
No, because I had the Colts actually, and it was 21-19 headed into the fourth quarter. And I'm like, oh, they're catching 10.5. I feel good about where I'm at. I think this is a typical Cowboy letdown game. Everybody's picking them on Sunday night, and they're going to be in a dogfight. And it was. And then the turnover barrage happened, and I was like, what was that? 33 unanswered in the fourth quarter. I've never seen that before.
I'm trying to rack my brain. It's the last time I've seen anything like that. And 33 points, like you said, in the fourth quarter. No points for the Colts in the fourth quarter. It went from bad to worse to what the hell really quick. And I mean, Indy coming into this as 11.5 point underdogs, 10.5 point underdogs in some spots, if you got it right. Yeah, I mean, for the first 3 quarters, you were loving life. At that point, you're like, this is going to work. This is going to work. Then you
thought it would at least come down to the wire if you were going to cover. You didn't think, oh yeah, they're going to score 30 in a row to blow us out of the gym, or sorry, gym. You can tell I've been on the college basketball experience too much. Blow us out of the stadium. So Yeah, no, Dallas looks good, man. I hate those words coming out of my mouth, but they're good. Their defense is really, really good.
Don't worry. The company policy is that we can't fire if you actually speak the truth. Like that's all there
Yeah.
is to it.
Dallas sucks.
Dallas sucks. Well,
Promo
look,
code.
on a night where Dak Prescott completes only 20 passes for 170 yards rather, but 3 touchdowns. I mean, on the flip side, Matt Ryan 21 to 37, 233, 2 touchdowns, but those 3 costly interceptions just made it tough down the stretch.
Yeah, Matt Ryan's done. I mean, we said it at the beginning of the year. They got a Foles Gold win, and then they celebrated like it was the 2006 Colts with Jim Irsay saying, "I told you so" on me hiring Jeff Saturday. And it's like, get out of here, man. You beat the Raiders. And then all of a sudden you've lost 3 in a row once again. The Colts are a joke right now. I mean, I hate to be brutally honest, but they are. I mean, they 4-8-1 in a division that they should win, but I mean, they're not going to because they're dysfunctional.
Yeah, look, that's it too. Just going forward, whatever the Colts are, bet against it. I guess that's going to be the good way to win going forward. Over on this one, 44, and that was done by the Dallas Cowboys in almost 1 quarter. Love playing in Friday Night Lights at the good old football gym. Oh, Justin. That's exactly the sentiment for the weekend.
I'm just glad I get split screen on this show, J Mark.
We need to bring him in. We need to just have you on, Justin.
Yeah.
In one of these for sure. All right.
No doubt.
Let's put a bow on week 13. That is almost over again as it wraps up tonight with that showdown between the NFC South. But let's look ahead to some week 15 lines as we always do. Where are we getting these from? Ryan, we're getting them from our friends at oddstrader.com who have the lines posted well ahead of when we need them, but we're trying to get you some value. But before we do, how do we do in our last value hunt there, Ryan?
We won 5-1 in terms of the value. We finally, I don't remember us losing one. This might have been the first loss of the year. I think we've pushed a couple. We lost. We gave out Minnesota -2 at Detroit. Detroit's favored next week.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that, you know what that means? Sunday morning, I am taking Detroit. Vegas is telling me to take Detroit. Shocker. Minnesota's a big public side early in the week. So monitor your lines there. Yeah. Crazy that a 10-2 team is going on the road to a 5-7, and they are an underdog in the NFC North. We gave out the Eagles -2. They're now 7-point favorites at the G-Men. We gave out those Dallas Cowboys. They were 8-point favorites at home against the Texans. They're favored by 17 now. So almost 10 points of value there. Wow. We gave out the Chiefs at a pick'em in Denver. And no, we're not smoking the mile high. They're 9-point favorites now. So almost 10 points of value there. Seattle -1 against Carolina at home. They're only 3.5-point favorites, but still gave out almost field goal value. We gave out your Niners finally in the last game we gave out. They're a 1-point underdog that we gave out earlier last week. Now they're -3.5, even with Brock Purdy against Tom Brady.
Wow. See, I knew, and you can't have San Francisco as an underdog in those games. It's just frustrating. So nice. All right. Well, week 15, here we come. Is there a place you would like to start, Ryan?
Yeah, I'll start with the Vikings again. I hope we don't get burned again on the value, but I'm going to give out the Vikings and they pick them currently at home against the Indianapolis Colts. I just said the Colts are a joke, so I got to back up my words, and I'll take Minnesota in a pick 'em -110.
Name me a more disrespected team than the Minnesota Vikings. I'll wait.
It's something about Kirk Cousins, man. He just rubs people the wrong way, I think.
It's like, you like that? You like that?
I like that line. Yeah, I do like that. Thanks, Kirk. Come through for us.
It's so nuts. Look, as much as I don't want to say this, I think that this +3.5 for Seattle and San Francisco, this is not going to stay +3.5. So if you're a Seattle bettor, if you think that Brock Purdy, you got to watch what Brock Purdy does this next week. But if he comes out, lays an egg, you may end up getting Seattle as a favorite. It may flip. And it may actually become a favorite. So if you want Seattle +3, because I think the Niners are going to win. So, I mean, whatever. Yeah. But if you think Seattle +3 is a good line for you, go ahead and grab it, because I don't think – it just depends on what we see this week out of Brock Purdy this next week, whether or not this line stays the same.
No, I agree with you there. That's good value, and that's a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Fantastic game, and we're reaching the point of the year, by the way, everybody, where there's going to be some Saturday games. I'm looking at 3 Week 15 Saturday games, so mark your calendar. College football's over, so the NFL slides right into Saturday, which I like. I'll for my next one, Rod, I'll give out the Cowboys again, -3.5 in Jacksonville. I think that thing's close to 10 by kickoff, at least 7.
What we saw, I mean, I don't know that there's a spread big enough to cover if you want to bet a Jacksonville on this too, but yeah, absolutely. Okay, I like that one. I'm going to go ahead and turn my attention to Pittsburgh and Carolina. Pittsburgh right now is, so this is the thing. They're +1 in some spots, but then they're 1-point favorites in others. So if you can find the +1 on your books, grab that Pittsburgh +1 against Carolina. Or, I mean, even still, I guess grabbing the +1 at Carolina probably wouldn't do that bad either, depending on where you're at. But again, I don't think Pittsburgh is going to be underdogs. And even at -1, I still think that's good value depending on where you get it to, because I don't think it's going to stay at -1 when it's all said and done.
I agree with you. Yeah, no, I like that Tomlin spot right there. Sorry, J Mark, I'm going to give out the Eagles. -3 in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a slight there, but we'll take that one. Do I have one more?
Offense. Yep, you have one more for the 6-pack.
One more for the 6-pack. Let's go to Monday Night Football. It is the Rams, it is the Packers, it is a pick 'em. There's nothing to pick. Green Bay at home. That's going to be, yeah, there's no way that this line does not stay, or this line stays a pick 'em after this next week.
Auto fade the Rams right now. They're
beat
terrible.
LA. Hashtag beat LA. That's I scream that one till I die.
Rod, another one, bonus one real quick. Kansas City's only -10 at Houston. So go grab that. I couldn't leave. I couldn't help myself. I was like, oh man, you got to grab that one.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Houston, that's where we're at this point.
Yep.
All right. Go ahead and recap those for everybody out there, Ryan.
All right, I got it right now. So we are taking Thursday night to start. We are taking Seattle +3.5 in the NFC West matchup with the Niners. We're taking Minnesota in the pick-up against Indianapolis at home. We're taking the Eagles -3 in Chicago. We're taking the Cowboys -3.5. Sorry, -3 at Jacksonville. We're going to take the Steelers +1 in Carolina. Green Bay and a pick 'em on Monday Night Football against struggling LA Rams. And our bonus one, we added one because we couldn't help ourselves, and we gotta give this one out. Kansas City -10 at Houston.
If nothing else, it'll be fun to see where that line goes after this, right?
That might be close to 20, at least 17.
I mean 14 I could see for sure, but yeah, that's definitely. I don't know if any line. Can you see it at 17? That'd be nuts.
I mean, they're 17-point underdogs this week to Dallas, and Kansas City's much better. So
that's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Sad
I feel
days.
I feel like we've done enough damage there, Ryan. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. Let's tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
Yep. Watching for the YouTube crowd right there at Moneyline_Mac in the Discord as well. Tune into the college basketball experience every single night. We handicap every single game for the college basketball slate. It's fun. Goes live about midnight every night. And then come back on Wednesday when J Mark and I preview the morning games for week number 14 already.
Ryan is a beast. He's all over the SGPN. You can find me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. You can find the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, the F1 Gambling Podcast, of course, here, the Propcast, whatever else is going on. There's a link in my bio also that you can find everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's Sportsbook Review, whether it is in between media. Find them all right there on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Until then, Ryan will see you on Wednesday. I, once again, will see you next Monday. Good luck, everybody. Have some fun. Hopefully your Monday Night Football bets go well, and hopefully the rest of your week 14 in the NFL. It's good. We'll see you next time, everybody. And as always, let it Right.